So, primarily if we use credit responsibly, it does give us the opportunity to acquire items today that we will use for the future and then pay for those items over time. The key with credit is to match the life of the asset with the term of the credit used to acquire it. So for instance, you borrow money for a car. Most people have a car for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, hopefully longer if you can. But I would say try to finance it for, 5 years or less. Then if you use it for longer, we've talked about that before, if you use it for longer, then any of that extra money that you had been paying, you put that aside. You put it in a bank account, you put it in sort of a slush fund, if you will, so that when you go to buy your next car, you have some extra cash built up to buy your next car. This is one of the reasons why if you don't have the money to buy clothes or other things on a credit card and pay off that credit card bill, you don't do that. Because otherwise, you're going to be paying for your clothes for years and years and years, and you're probably not even using them anymore. You might have already donated them and given them to charity or something, okay? Or they might have gotten worn out. A pair of sneakers, you probably wear them out in 6 months. If you're still paying off the charge you put on your charge card for it, it's very foolish, okay? So to establish a good credit rating, you need to start with small purchases, build them up, pay your bills on time, and avoid accumulating debt. Yes, Alex?
What's your credit rating like as soon as you turn 18 and you get like a small loan for a car or something? What do they look at? What do they do?
We're going to do a credit activity at the end of the class today where you're going to see how they weight the different things that go into the credit score. But basically, you guys, anything you're doing even now is helping to build your credit score. So having a job helps to build your credit worthiness. Having a bank account, not bouncing any checks or overdrawing your accounts. Those types of things impact your credit. Additionally, like if you have a cell phone and you pay for that cell phone yourself. Most of you guys are under 18, so you probably don't have your own cell phone contract. So, but once you have your own cell phone bill, that is all going towards your credit rating. Yes, Kyle.
What is like car payments and insurance though? Like, is that monthly or is that yearly?
Usually your car loan is a monthly payment.
Okay.
Car insurance, you can either get monthly or semi-annual. Not too many car insurance companies do annual payments anymore, but typically you pay a little bit extra if you're going to do monthly payments on your car insurance. The reason is because the car insurance company has to process more when you pay monthly, so they charge you a little extra for that. Yeah, so it's a little bit less expensive if you go with semi-annual payments.
Okay.
But they're typically monthly or semi-annual, and it does impact your credit worthiness if you pay them late.
And does it depend on, like, does everything have like a certain day that it comes out on, or do they all come out of that
All-
the month? Like,
All different things. Yep. Like my different credit cards, they each have different payment dates. My Verizon bill for my cell phones is different than my Verizon Fios bill. They're all different days. Everything is a different day. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes. You have to be very organized. You really do.
Could you sync them up?
It would be a little bit challenging to do that because you would have to, yeah, it would be a little bit challenging to do that.
There's this guy who comes to the gym and he's kind of like quirky, and he said that he was going to buy a membership, and then I set him up on the computer. He's like, oh no, not today. I'm going to buy it on the 17th. And I was like, why? He's like, so that it matches up with all my luxury.
Okay, that's one way of doing it. Okay, so what's your credit score? A credit score is just basically a mathematical formula that is used to evaluate risk associated with lending money. The higher your credit score, the better your score. Okay, and we'll talk about that today. FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation, is the primary company. They're the ones that originated the concept of credit scoring. And when I used to be in finance, we would use this all the time when we were looking at the creditworthiness of individuals. So I didn't do personal finance stuff. I did all commercial, corporate finance stuff. But whenever we had an individual who owned a company, we always looked at their individual credit scores to a guide as to how well that person managed their money as an individual. Oh, crap. Sorry, I gotta answer this text. All right. So there are basically 5 items that make up the credit score. Your payment history, the amounts of your debt, the length of your credit history, any new credit that you get or apply for, and then the credit type mix. What they mean, I'll wait until you guys get to it. I'll explain it. So our credit type or mix, the credit mix, what we're talking about there is the types of credit that you're getting. How much credit card debt you have versus how much in car loans you have versus what your mortgage is, all of that kind of stuff, what your student loans is, that's the mix.
So you have one credit score. You don't have, like, if you have multiple credit cards, do you have a score for each one? Or is it all?
No. You have one credit score that's made up of all of these things that they accumulate from all the different companies that you have credit from.
So you have 3 different credit cards within like one score.
Correct. You only have one Fair Isaac score. Now there might be other companies that are getting into the game, because it's a moneymaker, for that Fair Isaac company. So now Fair Isaacs might have some competition, but they're pretty much the gold standard. Pretty much all the finance companies use Fair Isaac for credit reports. For credit scoring, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 different companies that provide credit reports. Credit reports are different than credit scores, okay? And I'll show you that today. Oh my God, I'm like a teenager here. My phone is exploding. Oh, yeah. All right, where am I? Okay. Gonna just watch a little video on credit reports real quick. Yes.
Hi, and welcome to Video Credit Score. Some of you don't know the nuts and bolts of a credit score, so we'll try to give you a short overview. If you feel you do know the basics of credit scores, you may want to skip ahead a lesson. To get a car loan, a home loan, a credit card, or a cell phone, companies use a credit score to assess your likelihood of paying. A quick Google search discovered nearly 20 definitions for credit score, which highlights how confusing this can get. To quote my FICO, this term is often used to refer to credit bureau risk scores. It broadly refers to a number generated by a statistical model which is used to objectively evaluate information that pertains to making a credit decision. Yikes. Okay, let's take a deep breath and let's try to simplify this. This credit score isn't really one score at all. It's actually 3 scores. Why? Because there are 3 companies that collect data on your credit history and create reports. Plus, you may hear the terms FICO score and credit score used interchangeably. This is sort of analogous to Band-Aid and bandages. Band-Aids aren't the only bandages, but they probably are the ones that most people recognize, and the same holds true for the FICO brand, as FICO is the most used credit scoring system. Next, you might guess the score range is 1 to 100. No, generally it's a 3-digit number, and the FICO system goes from 300 to 850. So is it like an SAT score? Well, yes and no. Yes, in that it's really important, but no, your SAT score is set in stone once you've taken the SAT. Your credit score changes over time, more like your cholesterol score. Both change as your behavioral habits change. So how does this impact our lives? Well, besides the Fed rate, this is going to be one of the greatest determinations of your loan payments. At the time of this recording, the best rate for a 30-year mortgage is 5.45%, but the worst rate is over 10%. Today, the best rate can mean $1,000 a month less in payments for a $300,000 house. Check out the chart on myfico.com to see what I mean. One thing is certain, the price of a credit score report product often pays for itself. So you can increase or decrease your scores through your behavior, but we're going to focus on upward movement. So what's a good score? Well, the banks are awarding the best rates to people with a FICO over 760. But wait, if you have 3 scores, which one has to be a 760? Well, most home lenders seem to take the middle score, so if your scores are 710, 720, 760, they'll likely use the mid score to calculate your rate. Most car loan lenders just use 1 score, but it makes sense to know all 3 as different lenders use different data sets for their scores. If you've never seen your 3 scores, that's the first step. Just click on the order button next to the screen to get started. So, in order to start figuring out how to manage your scores, you'll need to understand what goes into your scores. There are 5 key areas that impact your score, and we'll cover these in the next lesson. Lesson number 2.
Remember, everyone's situation is different. Be sure to contact a financial advisor or credit counseling professional before making important financial decisions. This speedcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for receiving personalized professional advice.
All right. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit of an overview of what a credit, how the credit scoring goes into the FICO. I'm going to show you guys a quick snapshot here of what a credit report looks like. You guys are going to look at one a little bit later too.
Hey Joyce.
What do you have? Do you know what that is?
It's a bus slip.
I've never seen that before. I don't know what that is. What's a bus slip? I don't even know.
So that way I can ride a different bus.
What's that?
So that way I can ride a different bus.
Oh, I didn't know there was such a thing.
It's like what we used to do
In elementary school?
school?
Really?
In elementary school.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know they still did that.
But
See, you learn something new every day.
even though
Okay.
it's like, I don't know, a fourth of a mile down the road.
Right. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so there are 3 in that video clip. They reference that there are 3 credit reporting agencies: TransUnion, Experian, and why am I forgetting the third one? There's 3. I'm forgetting the third one. There are 3. Suffice it to say. So this is a credit report that is similar to what's been issued, you would see as a real credit report for somebody. Okay? It gives you a lot of information on a person, a real lot of information. As you can see here, it starts out by giving you the name of the person. It's going to give you the date of the report, It's going to give you any public information that's out there on this person, public reporting information on this person. By that, it means like if they have any criminal record, if they have any public filings against themselves, that's all going to be on your credit report. If there's been any legal judgments against you, so for instance, if you maybe had somebody sued you for something, and they had a lien against some of your assets, that's all going to be on your credit report. If you ever filed bankruptcy, that's going to be on your credit report. In addition, they're going to put all the different types of credit that you have out there. That's going to be on this credit report. So, for instance, this particular person, they had whatever they had from ABC Bank, okay, and they paid it. It's past due. They paid it, but it was past due 60 days. That's going to be noted on here. They're going to tell you what type of loan it is. It's an installment loan. It was for 12 months, when it was opened, what the status is, how much it was, etc., etc. So all of these pages are similar types of items for different credit things that this person had taken out. You can see this one is from a finance company, an auto finance company. This one is college agencies. So all these different companies are going to report, and then they're also going to be any things that are requests for credit. So anytime you request a credit, it's going to go onto that credit report. Okay, so if you go into Macy's and somebody comes up to you, remember I said they'll go and say something to you to try to get you to buy stuff and get their credit card. They'll say, oh, you can get 10% off of all your purchases today if you apply for a credit card. Anytime you go and apply for any credit, that's going to get reported here in your credit reports, okay? And whether or not you get approved for them or not, okay? All of that's in here. And then any additional personal information is also going to be in there. So where you've lived, all the different places you've lived will be in your credit report, okay?
Does it matter how many credit cards you have?
Yes, it does. You should try to keep the number of your credit cards down to a minimum. Technically speaking, all of that credit is available to you, and that has pros and cons. Theoretically speaking, if you have a lot of available credit and you're not using it, you're considered to be more credit worthy. Okay, but you got to keep in mind though, if you have more available credit, that's more opportunities for somebody to steal your credit. Okay, and that's a bad thing. So like if you get a credit card and you're not using it, you should really it's not just cutting up the credit card. You have to literally call up the credit card company and close out that credit so that it is no longer on your credit report. Okay? Okay. So let's go on to the next page in our notes. Okay. So credit and you. There are laws that require creditors to state the finance charges that they're charging you and the annual percentage rate for the loans. The finance charges are basically the total cost in dollars and cents, including interest. So that's the dollar amount. Okay, whereas the annual percentage rate, the APR, you'll see that often or you'll hear that often, is the actual interest rate of the loan for the year. So say 6%. The Truth in Lending Act, you can just note this here. The Truth in Lending Act, okay, write that down. Truth in Lending Act is the law that requires lenders to disclose all of this financing information to you. The Truth in Lending Act is Truth in Lending, right? Truth in Lending Act is the law that requires finance charges and APR to be disclosed to the borrower. Yes, Alex.
So when you hear like 0% APR, is that really good?
Oh, 0%. Yeah. Yeah.
You see that a lot with car commercials.
Right. Remember, they're not doing this for nothing. So somewhere they're making money. Okay? So, you just got to figure out where. So sometimes they might be not, quote unquote, charging you an interest rate, but they might have other costs in there. Maybe they have some sort of fees that are built in there, something along those lines. So you have to be cautious. You have to figure out how are they making their money. They're in business to make money. Those finance companies, they might seem like they're nice. They're doing you a favor, but always have your radar up because they're in business to make money. Okay, so the last thing I said was the total amount that you're paying is the sum of the monthly payments plus the down payment plus any fees. Okay? All right, so that's going to end section 1 for us. The next section we'll start next class where we'll talk a little bit more about credit protection laws. But we're going to stop there for now, and we're going to work on some stuff relating to understanding credit reports and your credit scores.